Turn this down in my ear. Yeah, I might adjust the volume a bit because I know I'm very low on these things. Put this over here. Close that. Okay, let me adjust the volume a bit because I know it can be super low on these things. Where is it? Okay, I'm gonna bump this up to 6. Yeah, let's try that. Let me know if I'm like too loud. It's hard to tell unless I'm doing testing streams. But hey, Frost. Alright. Let's see if I can do it this way. If not, I can always rotate it. Alright. A touch loud. How's this? One of these days I'm just gonna, or like maybe in the morning I'll do like a test stream just to gauge it for myself. Because I know that sometimes people's settings can also be a factor. So I might just have to go off of my own settings. That's better? Okay. Because I know I'm soft-spoken too, so that's a bit part of the problem. Alright. Tonight we're just having a little bit of fun, and I'm in a jam mood. And then after stream I'll get back to working on the usual stuff. Yeah, this is just random art. Thinking of drawing Gothic Jam and not based on coffee. Although I could probably make an alt of coffee. But there are obvious differences between the two, so I probably won't go that far. Because they are clearly not the same. But hope everyone's doing alright tonight. I'm thinking about streaming again in the mornings, like a little bit more often, just for like a small amount of time. Just to get the blood rolling for the morning. But we'll see. We'll see how I feel about it. Yeah, she's a copycat poser. Oh yeah, I saw the conversation behind that. It's like, wow, the giant the giant letters on her ass was not that noticeable. But that's funny. Nothing wrong with that. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Might experiment with eyes again. No, wasn't really satisfied with the might just go back to the way I usually do them, because I think those are the peak versions that I do. Maybe just put more time into certain details. I think that seems to be the style that I like the most. That just shows that they were more into the plot than the plot. It's like, I'm here for the plot, not the plot. That's how you know I did a good job. If I was gonna do a version like that, where there's something on Jam's ass with words or whatever, I probably would have had it look like it was painted, and have Plum hold up like a paintbrush or something. That's just me though, and that's like Looney Tune logic. Let's make her expression a bit different. More like she's doing this on purpose. Raz being too drunk to work the keyboard. God help us if they were ever actual streamers. Because you know half of it's going to be Jam being oblivious to memes and other jokes. And so she's always going to be asking what stuff means. They'd be like, Jam, come on, we're streaming. He's like, why do I gotta stream with you guys? Like, I don't even understand half the stuff you guys talk about. This might be one of those situations where I gotta draw the rest of her mouth first. Hold on. Clean my glasses. Oh yeah, Kiwi would be the gamer where they would purposely have her play games where you're most likely to fuck up in some way until she like figures out the rhythm. Apricot and Jam are gonna be probably the most oblivious and ditzy of the group. Raz will probably take on any drinking challenges. So it's like, oh, every time Kiwi fucks up, Raz has to take a shot or something. And Plum is basically the one managing the whole thing. Unless we have Douglas do that, and then Plum is just, you know, instigating certain things to happen. So it could be like a group effort type of situation. I mean, obviously, if they're all just hanging out while they're streaming, it would have to be a group effort. Yeah, like Plum was basically the chat, but hanging out, but actually physically there. And Plum is like trying, or not Plum, but Jam is like trying to understand, trying to, you know, be part of the group. But she's like the most fish out of water compared to like Apricot, where Apricot, she might understand some of the jokes, but she won't understand that some of them are aimed at her, or that it just flies over her head. But she thinks she gets it type of situation. And then of course every once in a while you gotta have the iconic Jam ass shot. That way it makes her feel appreciated without completely realizing that she's the literal butt of the joke. Of course, there's probably going to be a point where she does figure it out, that people just like her for her ass, and she might get a little annoyed and frustrated over that until one of the girls, reassures her that it's not just her ass. Could even be like Jam is assuming that she's like, spreading the good word about not being sinners or something like that, since she's trying to still uphold the whole holy representation that she's a part of and stuff like that, not realizing that barely anybody is paying attention to that. And then, of course, Plum will probably get her to roam around in her usual outfit. Because Jam refuses to wear other clothing unless she's absolutely, talked into doing so. But even her normal outfit, it's really revealing. Oh yeah, I should probably save this just so I don't lose any progress on it. Streams. Been a while since we've been here. Do I have one for Jam? No, I have not done a stream of Jam. Weird. I did one of Coffee though. Or it could be like one of those situations where Jam like figures out that she's like the butt of the joke or whatever slang that she's managed to figure it out. But then like even though she's correct, they still talk her into thinking that it means something else. Kind of like the Satina thick joke. Where it's like, what does thick mean? So that would totally be Jam. That's basically like the best representation of how Jam would act. Yeah, like I could see her like reading like weird, like going into like the religions that mortals have come up with and how she just discusses how all of them are wrong. And then she's like, okay, let me go grab the next religion or volume or whatever she's talking about. So she gets up to go get the next book, and you just see a clear shot of her fat ass, and that's when the chat goes wild. They're like, yeah! It's like, that's what we've been waiting for, type of thing, like the SpongeBob meme. And then when she comes back, she's like, oh, see, I'm glad all of you are excited. And then to have someone in the chat just be like, this was totally worth the 2 hours. just ridiculous nonsense. Because that's exactly how it'd go. Alright, let me fix up her mouth. Because that's the only reason why chat would put up with her preaching for an extended amount of time. It's just waiting for her to unintentionally show off her ass. Because it's not like she does it on purpose, it's just her body type. However, her clothing is definitely on purpose because she refuses to change her style of clothing unless she's talked to or like convinced that it'd be a good thing, which will be the case in a later story when Jam finally goes to the club. Of course, she'll feel weird wearing an outfit that she's not used to. Funny thing is, when she's wearing, like, you know, sexy clothing, but it's more covered up than her normal outfit, she'll feel like she's in a more revealing outfit despite her normal clothing being way more risque than the clothing that she ends up wearing. Because with Jam, it's one of those situations where less is more, or not less is more. The more she's covered up, the more revealing it seems. Hello, hello. The girl's trying to hide skits from Jam while she's trying to preach would be interesting because she can just kind of tell when they're doing something because she's got that mom instinct type of thing going for her. So she knows when something's off. And then she'll like turn around and they like try to go back to normal without her catching them. And she's like, "What are you guys doing?" He's like, "We're not doing anything." And then, of course, Raz will probably confront her and she'll be like, "Geez, Mom." And she's like, "I am not your mother." And then Plum would be like, "Oh, you can." I'm like, no, you can be our mommy. And then Chat would be like, "Yes, mommy, please." And she's like, "No, stop it." It's like, don't rile up the chat. So that'd be funny. You can definitely see that happening. Might have to raise up her head a bit, but let's just get whatever details I need first. Yeah, like I can see Jam wearing like a more modest outfit. So like if she had like a long, more flowing like dress or skirt, she'd probably feel better about it. But again, because of the size of her assets, it's not like it's entirely hiding anything. So even if she's like more modest and covered up, it's just gonna look like she has a fucking dump truck. She may not get it, like she may not realize the what's the word I'm looking for? the unintentional sexual side to it, where it's like, okay, clearly she's covered up, she's not trying to show off anything, but it's just her curves and shape are enough to get people riled up over her. And again, she doesn't really think much of mortals, so she doesn't understand the sexual attraction towards her. Like, she understands the whole, like, you know, beings needing to mate type of thing, but she won't understand what's their draw to her. And sometimes even when she's explained this, like, Jam, like, you are sexy to them, and she'll just be like, why? And then trying to be explained to about the whole, like, interest in curves type of thing. And she'll be, like, trying to understand. She's like, so let me get this straight. They like my butt. They like my rear end. And they're like, yes. But that doesn't do anything. And she's like, I don't even need to use the restroom. We don't... I like, she doesn't function that way. It's like, and then Plum will be like, well, some people are into that kind of stuff. And they'll be like, Plum! So yeah, it's really hard for Jam to get it simply because she doesn't care. Or she's put no effort to understand before until now. So, she just has a difficult time getting it. That's why things like memes and other jokes just fly over her head. Anti-Art Kitty says hi. Hey, what you doing? See, that would be a typical response if she was not not a demigod, so she doesn't even need to use the restroom because she doesn't even require to eat or drink either. She just does so every once in a while for fun. Like if she's like interested in eating like an apple or something fruity or something like that. But again, she doesn't have mortal bodily functions. So she just, again, doesn't get it. And even if she does understand like typical anatomy, she'll just be like, wait, but don't creatures, you know, defecate from there? Why would anybody be interested in that? And that would just be a longer discussion between like Jam and Raz, or Plum and Raz, talking to Jam, trying to explain what kinks are and stuff like that, and how mortals are into like very interesting kinks. And then Plum will be like, so is that why you guys always get fat during your stories or during your little events? Because, you know, they can break the fourth wall, so she understands the whole reoccurring theme going on. And then there's the whole concept of doing that stuff for money that she would have to wrap her head around. And then like after hours of explaining it to her, she's like, so let me get this straight. People like my ass. Yes. And if I were to put toys in there, that would get them excited. Also, yes. And that earns money somehow. Yes. Mortals are fucking weird. It'd just be that whole conversation. And even then, that's just scratching the surface of it. That's not even everything that they could completely explain to her. Because then Plum would be like, okay, now let me explain feet to you. And she's like, what? And they'd be like, and tails, and breasts, and bellies, and everything else. Like, she'd be willing to learn. She'll sit there for however long it takes to learn everything about the subject. And she would still be both educated, confused, slightly interested, and weirded out all at the same time. And at the same time, she wouldn't 100% say no. Because she wouldn't want to, like, narc it before she tries it type of thing. Which could possibly lead to other situations that may or may not be good for her. Which I may expand on when her and Raz have another comic. Will mostly be focused on her, but still. So, it'll be one of those scenarios. Like, if she was with Nere, Nere would be like, alright, these are drugs. And she'd be like, no, don't get Jam into that. Which, again, Jam is technically immune to everything. Like, she can't get intoxicated and she's immune to drugs, so unless she allows her body to experience these things, they don't do anything to her unless she allows it. So, if she were to go to a bar and someone were to challenge her to a drinking contest, she would win. Yeah, the fun part would be taking her to a church. And she'd be like, but everything here is wrong. And everyone's be like, oh, you're a blasphemer. And it's like, no, I'm not. It's like, I know damn well none of this happened. She's like, oh yeah, like, you know what happened back then. It's like, yeah, I do. I was there. They'd be like, what, you were there when the Son of God died? And she's like, yeah, I'm the one that escorted his fucking soul. That was my job. And everyone would be looking at her going like, what? And that's when Raz and everybody and the other girls would be like, we should probably leave. Jan would drink the bar clean. She probably wouldn't drink the bar clean, but she'd just win whatever challenge that she was given. So if it's just a matter of drinking until the other person passes out, she would win. But yeah, like she's the type that would just immediately correct anybody that tried to talk to her about religion. She'd be like, no, none of this is right. Gets booed and chased out of church. I mean, they should be careful. She could technically just, blow up the place if she wanted to. But luckily, she's not that type. Unless they really angered her and try to say, like, whatever she believes in or something is wrong, and she's like, it's not wrong. It's like, I can prove it. She'd be like, do you want to see the afterlife right now and tell me if I'm right? It's like, I'll come visit. She'd be like, oh shit. Although technically she couldn't visit since she's currently exiled, but maybe in the future. But yeah. It would be interesting to see her, like, visit every religion and only name, like, one of them to be the closest. She'd be like, you know what, of all the ones that we've been to today, this one's the closest. And then they take her to the Church of Thick, and she's like, okay, now you guys are just fucking with me, right? And they'd be like, no, this is a real one too. And then they probably dropped the whole, like, there's also a religion where they worship a golden plunger. No idea what the fuck that's about. And yes, that is a real thing. It was made as a joke, but it actually got approved by, I can't remember if it was like the IRS or whatever other government entity, but it is a actual religion that got approved. I forget the name of it though, but it has, I think it's like anti-Scientology or something like that, and they worship a golden plunger. So that is a thing. Alright, so we got this much. Couldn't be worse than the House of Skibby. Is that a thing? Is that seriously a thing? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but yet I had to ask. See, this is why at this point I should just make my own religion. I mean, pretty much already did. May not be official, but what does that matter? Trying to debate on how I want to do this. I think I'll just leave it at that, and then we'll draw the rest of her, and then figure it out when we get there. Please say kidding. Oh, you said as a joke. Okay. Because it's hard to know whether or not that's a joke, because that could be a thing. That's the scary part, is that it could be a thing. Honestly, it wouldn't even be a bad thing if it happened to happen, but it would just be awkward, because it's like, really, of all the things you could have made a religion out of, you picked this. And it's not even cool. Weren't they gonna make a fucking movie out of that? I hope that doesn't happen. This feels like a waste of talent. I say as fucking Teen Titans Go exists, so what do I know at this point? I just need to make my own shit at this point. It's like, do whatever. You're free to look it up if you want, I will. Nah. If it doesn't show up on my YouTube feed or whatever, then it's probably not relevant to me. Oh yeah, I should probably leave that alone until I figure out what how I'm figuring that out, or messing with that. Alright, so might have to. But yeah, it would be fun to see Jam just trying to adapt to mortal society, even though they're technically in limbo. So they're only getting like a version of the real world. It would still be interesting to see Jam trying to blend in or adapt to society. Take your time. I'll be here for a good while. Let's just put this here until I decide if I'm going to change that. Yeah, that was because when you go into your videos, there's the little thumbnail thing that shows up of like it can pick scenes from your stream or whatever video you made, and then you can also just make your own thumbnail and upload it as that. Most of the time, I don't make thumbnails for the streams or anything like that. I just leave them as is unless it's like a speed paint or something. But I was watching a video that was talking about YouTube's AI and stuff like that. And one of the things the person mentioned was that YouTube has a feature that just generates a thumbnail for you. So I got curious and wanted to see what it would come up with. And it just straight up chooses Nun, Becky, and Joanne out of everything. So I just got a nice laugh out of that, so I saved it. And Jam, your tits are smaller than that. Unless we're going by perspective. Actually, I probably shouldn't do that. I should probably just do it this way. And they're just a little bit smaller. They're not that small. Something like that. It's fine. There we go. Just enough. But yeah, so yeah, that thumbnail is based off of YouTube's interpretation of my content, and it was based off of the current stream, so that's probably why I used Slice of Life 21, because that was the stream that I was using to do it with. But yeah, I just straight up chose Joanne and Becky. Yeah, they messed up with Becky's eyes. They didn't give her the fat alligator tail, but at the same time, it's not like they have much information to go off of about that. And the Joanne wasn't too bad either. But yeah, realistically, I would never use AI for art. Obviously, at least not like drawn art and stuff like that. And I've already expressed that if I ever do use AI, it would just be for voices and probably music until I can actually hire somebody to do that stuff. So, if at some point I am capable of such things, then that's when it will happen. But as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to like practicality, like obviously I'm never going to use it to draw my own artwork type of thing. Like that's just defeats the entire purpose to me. Obviously everyone else has different visions of what they would use AI for. But yeah, that's what I would only use it for. And just use that until it is no longer necessary. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's merely a tool. That, well, not even a tool. It's more like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a clutch or a crutch. No, not training wheels. There's a word for it that I'm looking for. Plus, they make her look like she's 90s Disney. Well, that part's not too bad. She's roughly based off of like DuckTales and Daffy Duck anyway, so they weren't too far off. But there's only so many different methods you can do a duck character. But yeah, I would only use AI for the stuff that I actually can't do. Or, like, in all fairness, I probably could do all that stuff, but it would just take way more time than I have. Unless people are willing to let me put certain things on hiatus type of thing, but I'm like, no, that's not practical. Which is why I'm taking my time working on the side project stuff. So when I have more time, I can do that. Like, I could have done that for this stream, but I could probably save it for next stream. Or just work on it when I'm in between projects. Let's move her over a bit. There we go. Body. Probably like around here. This has me in a nun mood again. Something like that. Can probably curve it out a bit more. Actually, now that I think about it, it'd be more like this. So, assuming there's not too much of a gap. Well, this is where her tail would be, somewhere around here. So let's just line it out. But her ass would be about, probably like, just to exaggerate, probably a little bit more of a gap than that, but let's just see how this is. And if she's in that pose, it'd be a little bit more curved because of her position. Who the hell? I am getting so tired of these scam messages. It's like, oh, this much of your account has been received. I'm like, bitch, I know damn well what I'm paying for, and that is not it. Welcome back. Might have to adjust where her legs are at some point. Let's just put it there anyway. You barely touch your phone. Yeah. Now they just send me like emails on my Hotmail. And it always goes to spam anyway because it knows it's bullshit. It's just annoying every once in a while. Okay, that's not where the pelvis would be. Pelvis would be like a little bit more in this general area. So it'd probably be like somewhere over here. Yeah, I'll figure it out when I get there. Right now I'm just doing all the setup stuff. Alright. Nah, this cheek definitely needs to be bigger. Let's get her thick tail put in. It would be fun to have like a moment where one of the girls brings Jam along to like a party or something, and one of the girls thinks that they're like, you know, hype at the party or whatever the case may be, and then find out that they're only invited as a joke because people or certain people think they're weird or like some kind of like just like there to laugh at type of thing. And then that's when Jam steps in to teach them a lesson, or at the very least, you know, stick up for her sister. Because even if Jam doesn't understand something, that doesn't mean she wants to ruin one of her siblings' fun. Like, she may not like it, but that doesn't mean she would be an asshole about it. Like, she's pretty open despite her mightier than thou stance on a lot of things. If anything, she's just more in the, like, the mindset of just having, like, you know, sibling bickering rather than actually trying to prevent them from having fun. She might scold them or something, but that's like the extent of it. And then, of course, you know, if somebody really upsets her siblings enough, like Apricot or even like Kiwi, which Kiwi is more clear-minded with a lot or like straightforward with a lot of things, but you know, everyone can be vulnerable. But I can see Jam just, you know, obliterating somebody. Like, just not care to the point where she just turns into dust and everyone around her is like, holy shit. Hello, hello. Alright, so if that's like that, then let's try this. Yeah, exactly. Because all the girls are a part of Rainbow Passion's personality in some way. A lot of which are like hidden interests and desires and stuff like that that got revealed. While like Jam is like the core. Eden Fig is like the remnants of it trying to put itself back together. And then the rest are just like, you know, random thoughts and interests taking form, and they just kind of do what they want. But Jam is like the piece that keeps everything together, or at the very least is there to keep an eye on the rest. At least until they're able to put themselves back together. Yeah, exactly. That's why Jam can easily beat Strawberry in pretty much anything. Like most of the focus is on like fighting when it'll get to them, but Jam is like, you know, the collected part of all that, whereas Strawberry is more just raw rage and strength and all that. So it's more unfocused. Whereas Jam is a lot more, like, even though Jam can easily be irritated, enraged, angered, pissed, embarrassed, whatever, like, she can technically reflect all the traits that all the others have, but she's like more sound-minded until you press her buttons enough, or just catch her in a bad mood, like anyone else would be. Like, she can act normal, but yeah, like, Strawberry is definitely a good compliment to her, where it's just like, okay, here's all the, this is where most of the pissed offness and anger went. And Raspberry's like the, oh, here's the let loose and party personality. Alright, so how are we doing this part? I'll have to adjust how the belly works. Yeah, exactly. And like, Jam is pretty misleading with her appearance and what's the word I'm looking for? Mannerisms and stuff like that. It's like she's always acting like holier than thou type of thing. But then all of a sudden it's like she's like stupidly powerful when pushed enough, and it's like, okay, where did this come from type of thing. Because the girls don't see that part of her very often. Like, they know that she gets pissed off often because of their antics, but not to the point where it's like, okay, she's willing to put you in a hole type of mentality. And then most of the time she's just there, like, you know, being all judgy and mom mentality, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, she's not playing. She actually knows what the fuck she's doing. Oh, really? We really went through all these that fast? Yes. Pause. Go back to the beginning. Thank you. I think the best way to put it is like, Jam gives off the impression where you may act like you know more than she does, but then you find out that she was there when that stuff started and just takes you to school about whatever it is you think that you know more about than she does. And again, like, they all are the same person, so her having this knowledge wouldn't be out of nowhere. It would just be confusing to the other personalities because they're all heavily focused on one specific aspect, whereas Jam, even though she represents a trait more often than not, she still retains knowledge of other things. Like, she's not surprised when other siblings start showing up when Jam, or when Raz, Jam, or Raz and Jam just kind of flow together with me. But Raz, Kiwi, Apricot, Plum are only aware of Lemon Lime. And then slowly the other one starts showing up, and Jam is just treating it as if they were always there. But Kiwi is at least aware that the other siblings were not around before, at least to her knowledge. So she's like, she gets more and more curious over that scenario. Because she's like, wait a minute, like, where's all this coming from? And with Jam, it may not even be intentional. It may just be like, once the other siblings start arriving or become more known, she just immediately has the knowledge and just acts as if it was already a thing, not realizing that it wasn't for a brief moment in time. And that's likely just because she's the main. So she's just adjusted faster than the others. I don't think I'm going to do this the typical way that I usually do it. Yeah, that's pretty much what Kiwi will be doing once it gets to more serious stuff. Because she knows that something's off. Especially after meeting Eden. Because one thing that clued her in that something is definitely not right was when Eden used Jam's card during their game. Not only that, but using the Celestial Gates card, or whatever the hell I called it. Celestial World, Celestial Realm. I'm doing alright. Just drawing the random pick for tonight. But yeah, like, Jam is there to be like, what? This was already a thing, and Kiwi is like, okay, so something must have happened when X, Y, and Z happened. Or at the very least, she knows something's off, and for some reason, everyone else isn't picking up on it. Or they're just as confused, and she's just trying to piece it together. But again, Jam is like treating it like as if it's normal. Okay, this is where parts of this is gonna get weird. That's okay. Lessen this a bit. Trying to emphasize on her clothing being stretched. Because Jam, even if you're not fully aware of it, you are packing a factory behind you. It would be interesting to see Jam just go through, like, the history of the sexual body and just learning about what is attractive and why. Even deep diving through like all the kinks and fetishes and stuff, and understanding why they are the way they are, and why one would be attractive to it. Even going through history books of like the whole having women's hands being covered with gloves type of thing, and realizing that that used to be a sexual fetish, and trying to wrap her head around that. And then when she gets to the male section, she'll like figure out stuff about them too. If anything, she'd probably be fascinated by it once she gets going. It would be funny where she learns everything she can about everything sexual, and then she gets into like interesting conversations where, you know, you have like big jock guys teasing like people with like a smaller dick or something, and then Jam just like reassures him. It's like, oh no, your dick size is perfectly fine, and just gives them like a giant spiel about the ups and downs of what they could do with their size and stuff like that, and then she just straight up demonstrates without thinking or without even hesitation. She just shows them that they're perfectly fine. Just gives them like an extreme confidence boost, and she just treats it like it's normal. Oh yeah, like I can see her like scolding them with one definition, and then proceed to go on with another definition on how they're like doing it wrong or something, or misunderstand how it actually works, or like the or like the optimal way of doing it. To the point where even Plum is impressed, where she's like, "Oh, okay." She went hella deep dive into all this. I just gave her the subject matter as a joke. She wasn't expecting Jam to just go like full on rabbit hole. And just be straight up impressed about it. And then at the very end of all of it, she just goes to Plum and says, "And yes, Plum, I know exactly what Gyat means," and just strolls off. Like all that just to figure out what slang words mean and stuff like that. She would be heavily confused by the history of mankind, though. In terms of, like, countries and stuff like slavery and all that. She'd be like, wait, what? They did what? She'd be like, hold on a second, they did what? You do not know what great means. Yep, do another jam. In a jam mood. #1 jam fan. I do use her for a lot of practice stuff, because she has like the most balanced design. She's like simple and complicated enough to experiment with multiple things without like going overboard. So unironically, she is perfect for art practice. That would just light up her day if she was in our world and heard me say that. She's like, ah! She'd be like, our creator says I'm perfect. I'm just jamming here. Oh yeah, I'll never get tired of this. Like, it would take great effort for me to dislike wanting to draw or any other subject matter that I'm into. It would take a pretty good amount of effort to make me hate it. Hopefully not to the levels of fucking Gooseworks. Like, the situation that they were involved in was just like, what the hell? And I know some people have had it worse than that, but still. It's like, guys, calm the fuck down. Me, I don't know. I'd probably be able to handle it up until some crazy person starts trying to dox or whatever nonsense, and then it becomes a bigger issue. But I don't think I'll ever get to that point, because I'm definitely probably not gonna reach those kind of heights, not unless I trip into some kind of success unintentionally. Because that's the only way it's gonna happen, is if I do something weird and then it just becomes popular somehow. I'll be like, when the or I'll be like, how the hell did this happen? Hello, hello. Balance is the last word to come to mind. Well, that's where she puts all the things she cleanses. Gotta put it somewhere. I say as she's part of the weight gain themes series rather than ass focused series. But I definitely want to put time into doing animatics and skits. So I wanted to get that done sooner, but other things occupied my time. But I'm getting there. I'm like, I don't know, maybe halfway done with the one I'm working on. But I know I've slowed down a bit with, with some stuff, so I definitely need to get back in the groove of getting things done in a decent amount of time. So I'll definitely keep that conscious, or be more self-aware about that. Animatic is like a rough animation of something. It's like it's almost like showing storyboarding, but you're showing some of the actions happening in between. It's like that, but it's in like, you know, video form, because you're trying to show the pre-production of an animation before it goes fully animated. I don't think I'd ever be able to do something fully animated, so an animatic is probably like the closest thing I could do. That, or like a visual novel style type of video, which is probably closer to what I'm thinking. So yeah, that's the idea, at least. Do I dare do that now? Now, wait. Fuck it. Can always say that Plum gave her this outfit. I mean, could either be Plum or or Raz, realistically. Like, can always see Plum or Raz giving Jam the more risque clothing, or at least, like, you know, casual clothing that mortals would wear, and Jam just being like confused. It's like, geez, this thing is like as thin as a string, like, and mortals wear this? And like, yeah, all the time. And then she just puts it on, and it's like, it's going right up my ass. And you're like, yeah, that's kind of the point. It's like just enough to cover something. Same thing would go for like a beach situation where they go to the beach and Jam is like wearing the Venus bikini or whatever. She would probably like it. She probably wouldn't care. about how revealing it is. She would just like the thought behind it, of it being given to her by her siblings. It's like, oh, like this was nice of them to give me this, and she puts it on. She would most likely just comment on missing the frilliness of an outfit, because she likes frills and like gown like material. That was in the neutral ending where he used a knife. He technically doesn't need a knife to do that. It had more to do with demonic energies coming from his body, and it just made his hand warp into like a demonic looking hand. So it has nothing to do with the knife itself. But in the true ending, which is the canon lore of the story now, he can just do that with his own aura, because he uses that to create his enchanted food, or whatever you want to call it, enhanced food. Yeah, the running idea currently for how Skylar has his powers is he gets that head injury or eye injury from playing football, and he's knocked unconscious or possibly in a coma for a brief amount of time. And it's enough for Yorjadov to notice him, and she doesn't want to directly give him give him powers the way Daylock did, but she at least wants to. Or I was either thinking Yurjadov takes a glance at it, or it just happens because of his injury, where due to his injury, it unlocks Skylar's aura abilities, and that's when he starts becoming aware that when he cooks something, it becomes enhanced based on his current intentions and desires. So that'll likely be the main idea for how he has his powers, and it's enough for like Yorjadov to consider him as part of like her camp of praised mortals. So she likely won't directly be involved with him, but she's at least aware of him because of his ties to fattening food and self-expression of that. Well, the self-expression part comes with the Black Circus, because Black Circus has to do with self-expression and going the distance based on your desires. But that's a whole other god, which I still need to draw how they look. Yes, exactly. I don't like the way I did that. I should have did the same thing I did before, but I didn't do that, so we're going to tweak this a bit. It's a little better. Yeah, it's a little better. Actually, mess with it one more time. Because I think I want that part to stay down, this part to curve up. So that way it looks like it's wrapping around her leg. There we go. And I'll just fix up whatever needs fixing. Yeah, I need to do more with about Black Circus, mostly with the god that runs it. But the whole idea is that it focuses on people that just completely let themselves dive into their personal interests. So, like, basically, the god kind of represents the spark of creativity that lets people go crazy over whatever they're interested in. So in Skylar's case, he super enjoys cooking, and he also includes like fattening up people, mostly women, but he's not like what's the word I'm looking for? He's not deterred by fattening men either, but it's mostly just women. But yeah, there's a god that represents that, and the god obviously won't focus on every single person that acts that way. So it basically just picks like a top 9 or so, and has like almost like a mental representation of them in the circus, and that just like further pushes them to do what they do. So in Skylar's case, he's part of that circle at the moment, and so he has a position in the circus, and it's just pushing his thoughts further and further. Because all it's doing is just making him more creative. Like it doesn't directly influence his actions, but it's like he's just more inspired, and he just keeps going, and thus it holds his position. Yeah, I could see that. Could even be like a special thing where Marcy is also tied to the Black Circus, but in like a different way. But yeah, we'll get there when we get there. Which reminds me, I need to start working on Buckle and World Gates. Get those two off the ground. Oh, really? That's interesting. I need to play more Power World. I only played like a little bit of it. So I am super behind on that game. I mean, I'm behind on a lot of games. I only play like the 4 gotcha games that I play in the morning, and then that's it. And that only takes me like maybe 2 hours, depending on what I'm doing. I need to play more of Zenless's story mode, though. Most of the time I'm just blitzing through the talking, because a lot of it doesn't really have anything to do with much until it hits like the main plot of the arc. Luckily those scenes are animated, so you know if they're important or not. Oh yeah, version 1.0 is coming out for Power World. I hope everything's going well with them, because I know they're still dealing with the Nintendo bullshit. Which Nintendo needs to fucking get off their high horse and stop trying to prevent other companies and people from creating things. Because that's just fucking ridiculous. That they're more willing to spend outrageous amount of money on court-related nonsense or patents and other bullshit just to prevent people from making things. And the same thing goes for patent trolls, where they just buy up patents or whatever the case may be and just sit there and hang on to it, waiting for somebody to make something similar just so they can sue them. Like, there needs to be just a straight up time limit on that shit. Like an actual short amount of time. Like, maybe, like, I'll be generous and say 5 years tops, just to be generous. If I was being realistic, I would say maybe 2 or 3, because it should not take much longer than that to gain whatever it was you're going to gain from your patent and then be done, and then let somebody else take a swing at it, at the idea. Because all patents do is just limit creativity. That's all they do. They don't. There's no real benefit to them other than giving the person a chance to make their money when they first make it, and that's it. I'll probably take a look at it after the stream's done. Which won't be much longer. But yeah, like, patent trolls are just like, what the fuck? It's all patents to me are is just, it shows how broken the system is and how far behind it is in terms of needing to be severely updated, rethought out, whatever else needs to be done, because it's not benefiting anybody realistically, other than like when they first make something and it's released. Like, that's kind of it. It should just have a few years to make their money, and then after that somebody else can do their version of it, or just completely remove it and let the free market figure it out. Because, like, sure, if you make something and somebody makes a better version, I mean, it is what it is at that point. It's not like you did anything wrong, it's just somebody fleshed it out. But that's why I said, like, at least give, like, a few years to have your shot. But I don't know. I could be wrong. And there's probably a lot more to it than that. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't be surprised over it. Still bullshit, though. How do I gotta do this? But yeah, we're at a point already where creativity is being heavily fucked with. Whether it be not safe for work content, video games, art in general. The preservation of games, the preservation of art. It's like, damn, how did we get to the point where people just think that completely censoring and getting rid of these things is like the best idea? Like, it's already bad enough knowing that PayPal, at least I don't know if they're still I mean, I'm sure they're still doing this, they're just being more discreet about it, controlling what people buy and shit like that. It's like, really? Like, you are not the person that decides this. You are the middleman. That is it. And it's gonna get to the point where people figure out how to get rid of the middleman. And then they're gonna look at themselves going like, oh, what happened? It's like, well, you pissed everybody off, so they figured out how to get rid of you. Do I play God of War? No. The only one I played was the very first one. The original one for PS2. And we didn't own that one. That was a game that a friend had brought over one day. I know the game is great, though. Although I do think that the new one that they announced feels like it's supposed to be a different game, but they threw God of War as the title. And ironically, it matches the same type of setup that another game had done. And even follows the same color scheme. So it just leans more into people realizing that this is one of those games that is not exactly made with the best intentions. Yeah, from what I've seen of the original games after the first one, they looked really fun. Just wasn't... Well, back then it wasn't like I had money to buy those games anyway. When I got games, it was like either a birthday or Christmas, and that was it. And it was like maybe 1 or 2 games, if I'm lucky. But I'm fully aware of what they were and stuff like that. But the newest one that's coming out, I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't look like this was intended to be God of War. And you know they're throwing Kratos in there every once in a while just to try to keep it within the same universe. And it's like, guys, this could have been any other game. Well, even if it was any other game, the sad part is like it looks like another game that's running the same idea, which is the problem because everybody's figuring that out. I can't remember if it was like Forspoken or some other game, but it was like a girl who has magical powers or whatever gets like a talking bracelet thing, and then there's like a goofier character that she gets tagged along with. And that's the same exact thing that the new God of War game is doing. You have a female character with mystical powers, has a goofy cube thing, and then she gets a ribbon that's put on her arm to use a sword. I'm like, this is literally the same game. And then they both use the same color scheme with the whole purple and pink or purple and gold, one of the two. Pretty sure it's like purple and pink color scheme going on. I'm like, damn, they didn't even try to hide it. It's literally the same game. Oh, you threw them away. Damn. Yeah, I don't think I could ever do that with my stuff. Like, I've only sold cards like 1 time. And back then, it wasn't even like any cards that I cared about. And then I ended up getting like copies of the cards that I sold anyway, so it didn't even matter. I was like, oh hey, it's the card that I sold for like 80 bucks back when it was worth that much. Now it's not worth like, it's only worth like, I don't know, $5. And it was a Yu-Gi-Oh card, so it wasn't even like anything crazy. That moment when I realized I gotta do this again on our other thigh. Unless I just have her not have fishnets on that thigh. Not that this matters, I'm just kind of doing it because it looks cool. But yeah, like, again, if I think if the new game just wasn't called God of War, it was just called something else, I think it probably would have done better. Because seeing what the character can do just makes me wonder how the hell did she get killed in the first place. But then again, it might have been shown in the newer God of War games. I just haven't followed them. So it might have been explained. But just from my initial reaction to it, I'm just like, how the hell did this character die? It's like, oh, she's in the afterlife, and I'm looking at everything that's going on in the trailer, and I'm just like, how the fuck did this character die? If she could do all that. Because isn't she like a god or something? Go back. She got sick. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'd have to look it up. So maybe that'll be something I do after I'm done streaming. But even then, it's like, okay, so did she like become mortal, and that's how she got sick? Which is probably the most likely the answer, because that's usually something gods do, where they make themselves mortal for a brief amount of a period of time or something. So that could easily be the situation. But still, I was just like, knowing nothing about the character and going off of the context clues that the trailer was giving me and the gameplay stuff that I saw, I was just like, okay, so she was a goddess. Obviously, she was with Kratos and had a kid and all that. Somehow died. Then I'm seeing her doing all these crazy magical shit, and I'm like, how the fuck did she die? But again, this is just me with zero knowledge of the character. Yeah, I remember him becoming a god for a while. Yeah, because in the previous games, because I know the newer ones do take place after the previous games, he just kind of moves on from his past. I understand that. Because before, he got covered in his family's ashes, and that's why his skin is white. Because it's supposed to be a form of punishment. Like, I get that. But I'm talking about, like, his newer wife that he had. Seeing that the thumbnail was surreal. Hello. Drawing a normal Krabby Patty. Yeah. Making sure it's double stacked. Or quadruple stacked at this point, damn. But yeah. That was just like my slight confusion knowing nothing of the character. But that's, only because I know nothing about her. But I was like, just lost on like, wait. So, we have this character, and she somehow died, and I need to redo her thong. Because that does not make sense, giving her pose. But yeah, that was just me, but like, again, I just feel that the game would have benefited from not being tied to God of War. And it could have just been called its own thing. But again, that's probably why they tied it to God of War, because who the fuck would buy it? Knowing that... Because once they put 2 and 2 together about the way the game looks like another game that came out, all it's going to tell people is that it's one of those games. And people were likely to not buy it. But now it has a decent chance of being bought simply because there's going to be some tie-in with God of War lore. But yeah, outside of that, it's like the game is probably like, unless the lore is worth it, I don't think the game is going to be that interesting outside of that. And again, it's mostly just because it looks like another game that's doing the exact same shit, and that game failed. So, odds are this game would have failed if it wasn't part of God of War. Okay, I think it's fine to add in her neck markings. And I'll put like a design on her shirt later down the line. put something else on her other thigh. Just like a wrap or something. Any thoughts on how to get... It heavily depends on... I mean, obviously go off of your own interests. Like, don't try to go after a particular audience, because if you're not doing it for yourself, then you're just not gonna like it in the long run. Just draw whatever you're interested in and then go from there. And because there's an audience for everything. If you're trying to do commissions, the best thing I can tell you is just try not to burn yourself out. Because if you're constantly drawing the same thing over and over and you're not interested in it, then you're just going to burn yourself out faster. But definitely draw what you yourself are interested in, because like-minded people will come, and then it's just a matter of balancing, you know, your personal interests with stuff that they might like to see you draw, or if you decide to take on commissions, then you know you just gotta don't tackle so many that you're going to burn yourself out, and then also know that you can decline commissions. Know that you can say no if you're not interested in something that they want you to draw. Just say, nah, it's not my thing, I don't want to draw it, sorry, and then move on. Because the worst thing you can do is burn yourself out from something that you actually like to do. Yes, exactly. If you build it, they will come. Or in Celebrity Deathmatch, if you stick your ass in the air, they will come. It's like, what? What do you mean? If you stick your ass in the air, they will come. And then you got a swift kick in the ass. But yeah, realistically, you know, just make what you like, and the people who like it too will eventually show up. And then it's just a matter of refining that skill to make it more interesting over time. So, long story short, do what you like. Exactly. Like, I've made a few mistakes here and there regarding some of the stuff that I draw, but luckily I was able to turn it into something that I enjoy rather than something I don't like. When it comes to commissions, I've taken a break from those for the time being. I have no idea when I'll come back to doing more commissions. But I just didn't like that I was starting to dislike drawing weight gain stuff or any other stuff that I was commissioned to do, because sometimes commissions just don't flow well, or they catch you at a bad time that you probably shouldn't have agreed to begin with. But, you know, that's on you, and it's just bad timing in general. But ultimately, is just, for me, it was just becoming something I wasn't having fun with. And so I decided to stop before it got worse. That's why I slowly got rid of voting as well, because that was becoming a bit one-sided. And so now I'm just willing to take suggestions. Like, I'm not gonna 100% choose whatever is suggested to me, but if it catches my attention, then I'm likely to draw it. But I definitely didn't want to turn it into something that I disliked. Because the hard thing about giving people choice is that they will usually stick to the stuff that they like, or like the stuff that they are most comfortable with, and you see less other things because of that. So like, for example, the odds of seeing characters like I don't know, let's just say Chuck E. Cheese characters, the odds of seeing them compared to like Five Nights at Freddy's characters are much lower. Simply because one's more popular than the other, or that people are more aware of one than the other. And that's just like on a basic level type of thing. If I were to pick like Sonic the Hedgehog and put it up to a vote between him and, I don't know, let's say either Earthworm Jim, someone from Papa the Rapper, or I don't know, Vector Man or something like that, like, odds are we're not going to see Vector Man, definitely not. Like, I drew freaking Count Duckula, and I know damn well barely anybody knows who the hell that is. Hell, I think they put all the episodes of it on YouTube, which is great. Reminds me I should probably nab them while I can. Fans don't know what they want. Sometimes that's true. Or like most of the time that's true. Take a break, talk with other friends, find your... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a good way to unburn out is to just take a break, step away from it, maybe hang around friends that share your interests, but don't like try to push anything on you. They just let you vibe and chill while you let your mind just flow out with ideas. That way you can like re-inspire yourself and have fun. Like, you know, read comics and stuff that you normally enjoy and get inspired by those again too. Like, that'll help. But definitely like reignite your personal interests rather than burning yourself out only because, like, hypothetically, let's just say you like to draw I don't know, let's just say werewolves, but the only kind of content you make money off of are feet. So yes, you can still draw werewolves, but all you're drawing is their feet and like underneath their feet and stuff like that. And that slowly burns you out because it's like you're trying to enjoy yourself, but the only thing people seem to be interested in are feet. And so you're making yourself not like drawing feet anymore, and possibly not like drawing werewolves anymore just because they're tied to the same theme. And so the best way to, you know, unburn yourself out is, one, stop following what is the bread and butter. Like, obviously, you know, do it every once in a while because you know it's at least a guaranteed thing when you need finances and stuff like that. But definitely still, you know, do the things that you are personally interested in, so that way you can continue having a good time. And let's drop this a bit, because if you don't, then eventually you're just gonna fall into the same problem. You're the only reason I know what Duckula is. Oh my god. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be led. Because I had that happen briefly with me, and then luckily I was able to turn it into something that I enjoy. But it was immediately like luckily it didn't take me like forever to figure out that it was a problem, or at the very least I knew that it was a mistake that I did. But luckily I was able to turn it into something that I enjoy. It didn't just become content for the sake of, okay, gotta draw the fat stuff for the fat crowd so I can make a little bit of money off of it, or whatever the case may be. Because if I wanted to 100% just lean into drawing weight gain stuff and not be the end of it, I could have done that. Like, it's not like that was like that's a difficult decision or something I wasn't able to do. It's like I could have just 100% leaned into that. But there's just other things that I like, so I sacrificed the decision to do that. I don't even know if sacrifice is the right word for it, but it was just definitely like something I chose not to do. I was like, nah. I know that this makes some money, but I like other things. Will I still draw weight gain and stuff like that? Hell yeah. I'm always gonna enjoy that. But I like variety. So whether it be weight gain, characters turning into robots, werewolves transformation, blobs, slimes, dragons, whatever, feet, big titties, fat ass, whatever. I like a lot of things, and I will continue to like a lot of things. Thank God, because I can only imagine if I was only interested in one subject. I am very curious on what that subject would be, because the weight. What's my earliest memory of being even partially interested in the weight gain theme? Because I know it was always a thing that came up in old cartoons, so it had to be something from that era. Because I always saw it as more as a comedy thing that can partially be taken seriously. Or even, like, you know, maturely or sexually or whatever. Like, that stuff came in like second and third for me. It was always like more comedic, and that's just because of old cartoons. The recent. Oh yeah. Like, I'm fully aware of who my more popular characters are at the moment, at least until other ones get off the ground. But I try to spread it out. That's why I try to keep like anything that's weight gain related with the Fat Lover, or with not the Fat Lover stuff, the Underground collection. I try to spread out when weight gain content is focused on, so that way other themes can have a chance. And I'm fully aware of which characters are the popular ones. Every once in a while, there'll be characters that come out of nowhere getting more attention than I expected them to. But I try to spread it out just so it's not overwhelmed. Because there's always going to be like at least one Marcy pick somewhere along the lines. Probably always one Blake, but which Blake it is up in the air, because most of the time I want to do Blake Sinclair, but I know the popular, well, I wouldn't say she's super popular compared to the original Blake, but I know that Blake Dinewell gets a good amount of attention just because she's fat. So I'm not oblivious to the reasonings why certain sets do better than others. But honestly, as long as each of them can sell at least 10 copies, then I did my job. Anything extra can flow into any set that doesn't do well. But I'll never show which ones did well and which ones didn't, because I don't want that to be an issue. But it's definitely not that difficult to manipulate if somebody really wanted to, but that would take an organized setup, which I don't think would happen. The closest to that ever happening was when I did the auction set for a while. But there was only 8 auction picks, so those are the ones that will never be shown to others outside of the people that shared it. If I had to peg you, for a signature theme, it would be the henshin stuff. Yeah, and I'm glad people enjoy the stuff that I make too. I tried to experiment with like the other art styles, because like the reason why I experiment with different methods is because I want to see if there's anything I can use for like later projects or later ideas. Like I know the easiest thing to do is just to do something flat color, because I won't have to think about shading too much unless I decide to do like black shading like the way I'm doing on Jam right now. There's just stuff that I want to do, but I'm trying to like find like the best method to go about it, but I also shouldn't dwell on planning for so long, because if I keep planning and planning and planning, then I'm never gonna fucking do it. And that's an issue. That can be a problem in of itself, because there are tons of people and artists who try to make certain things perfect, whether it be an animation, a comic, just drawing, like their first debut into making like an art gallery with like, you know, DeviantArt or whatever, and they'll sit there constantly planning, maybe posting something every once in a while, but most of the time it's nothing. Like they don't post, and that's an issue, because it's like, man, like they have so many ideas and potential, but we never see them post anything because they're afraid of not doing it right, or some kind of backlash or cancellation or blah blah blah. And so just a lot of really talented artists that we just don't see much from. Or there's also the issue of, well, not issue necessarily, but there's also like the mental headspace of drawing or making something and then not willing to learn from it, or I wouldn't want to say compromise necessarily, but more like it's kind of like getting pissed off at not seeing something specific that you want to see, and instead of creating it, you just continue to be angry that it doesn't exist. And it's like, well, if you're not seeing the type of content that you want to see, you're just gonna have to be the person that makes it, because that's kind of what I ended up having to do, especially with the whole Hetty thing. It's like, well, I can't read Hetty anymore, might as well make my own thing to kind of, you know, get that similar flow. So that's how Marcy and Skylar became a thing, because I was always going to be a series, but Marcy and Skylar were not the initial idea. that was supposed to be a different character, and then that character got taken apart and split into like 2 or 3 other characters. One of them being Blake. Once again, your rambling pushes you past the usual two. Yeah, it happens. Once you get me going about a certain subject matter or whatever, I can talk forever without realizing how much time has passed. We're working girls, right? Blake, pretty sure that's a term for another connotation. I'm not a floozy. That'd be funny. Yeah, again, if I ever dabble more with like AI voices and all that, I would love to do like little skits of the characters just rambling and ranting. Like, it may not be perfect because obviously it's AI, and AI has problems with afflictions with the voice and stuff like that. But if I ever got to the point where I, again, could hire actual voice actors and then go through the trials of trying to find the perfect voice actors and stuff, I would love to just have that be a thing every once in a while. Like, obviously not animation unless it's shit. If I ever somehow made enough money to hire animators, then fuck yeah. But again, that ain't happening anytime soon. But if it ever did, I would gladly hire these people and be like, alright, let's do some fun stuff. Have Plum being horny over some jam booty every once in a while. Marcy having her food outings and stuff, and so on and so. And so on and so on. So yeah. If I'm ever capable of making it happen, I will definitely do it. At the moment, AI voices and, I don't know, maybe AI music will probably be the closest I can to getting that stuff off the ground, because obviously I'm going to draw it and do the editing and stuff like that myself. But voices and music is probably the only things I would have to concede on, at least for now. And I know there are people that are probably willing to do stuff for free, but I don't like that mentality. Because people should be rewarded for their talents. Yes, I can go into the whole discussion about pirating, but that's a whole other subject matter. But ultimately, I would like to make that stuff happen, so I'll try to throw something together. I'm still working on that one animatic. So once I do that one, I'll try to do something a little bit more simpler. Because I think once I figure out like the workflow of how I want to do animatics, then it'll just make things easier to do. The only time-consuming part is just, you know, making the art and then doing the editing. No problem. Have a good day. Be safe, and I will see you the next time. Take care. Now back to Jam. What are we doing? Anything more that I want to do to her? I mean, there's always plenty of things I can do. Can always add in, like, this pic is gonna confuse the heck out of Plum. Yeah. She's like, wait, are you Jam or are you Coffee? If I change her color scheme, then yes, that would be way more confusing. But even then, it could be Coffee just wearing fucking body paint. And even if she's not thinking about Coffee, and this is only focused on Jam, it's still going to be confusing, because Plum is going to be like, alright sis, you're giving me mixed signals here. It's like Jam, are you high? Are you drunk? Are you horny? Like, what is happening here? Plum is just gonna be like, what? She's like, I don't know what answer to do. Will she get mad if I pick wrong? You know what she needs? She needs a choker. Only reason why Marcy doesn't have a choker is because I try to keep her as basic as possible. Same for most of the I-Hat and Black Circus crowd. They're not supposed to be overly complicated. Although with that said, Joanne's probably been the most fashionable one so far. And Blake's been up there a few times. But Blake doesn't normally wear chokers. Well, neither does Joanne, but they're both in scenarios where they've worn it. Then of course there's the angel cow that I need to draw. I mean, I've drawn her, I just haven't colored her. This way. I guess it doesn't matter, because even if it was built that way, it's just gonna be on the weird part of her neck. There we go. And you know what, just for shits and giggles. Just have a nice hole in her backside of her pants. Or her shorts. Yeah, I need to draw characters in fashion again. I don't really draw them wearing different fashion. Well, that's not true. I'm always drawing them in different clothing, but never to the extent of like a fashion show. So I need to do that a little bit more often, just to show them off. How do we do this part? question is, do we want this part of her ass to be squeezed? These are the decisions that people, that artists have to consider. It's always funny when certain people that get all pissy about risque content. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe you're drawing such crude content of whatever. And I'm like, you realize how long it takes to actually make this shit, right? You think that somebody's going to spend 3 to 8 hours just to make a statement or a thought process that you're trying to jump through gymnastics for? It's like, hell no. They drew it for fucking fun. Sure, you can take it as they drew crude content for whatever audience that may like it. Sure, I guess. But even then, it's like, well, they're adults. They can like whatever the hell they like. As long as it's not harming anybody, I don't give a shit. But to think that it's like, oh my god, this is just jerk-off material, I was like, sure. And it only took 3 to 8 fucking hours to make it. That's a long time to be fucking blue-balled. I don't know. But unfortunately, those are the types of people that get stuff censored. Or banned, or removed, or whatever nonsense we're currently dealing with. Alright, anyway, that's some of Jam's cheeks showing. Blah blah blah. She's already got a tongue piercing, she doesn't really need much else. I guess I could give her an earring. Kinda defeats the... Well, it's not like she's coffee, so I can kinda just do whatever with her. But I don't think she needs earrings. I do think she needs something on her arms, though. Whether it be gloves or something. I'll just do this. Nothing crazy. Because I don't want her to be too... Well, I guess being dressed up similar to Coffee wouldn't be a bad thing. They're both supposed to be goth. Or well, this is supposed to be a goth version of Jam, but Coffee is goth, so having a similar outfit wouldn't exactly be out of line. That's kind of the point. They just don't have to have the same setup. Note to self, you can move the screen so that you don't have back pain. I constantly forget about this because I'm too in the zone of drawing. Yes, it's annoying to see an empty void, but it's better than having back problems. There we go. Split that up. And I'd love to give her a tramp stamp. But I also want to give her a shoulder tattoo. Why not both? It's one of those things where like I want to do it, but I don't know what would be perfect for her to have. I think I know something that'd be interesting. I'll give her an apple. She does like apples. Jam does seem the type that would get a tattoo of an apple and think it's hard.
The game's over.
They're like, oh, just go in there and get a tattoo of something you like. She's like, okay, comes back with a fucking apple. Which would be funny if Apple Cider saw it. And she'd be like, wait a minute. She's like, oh, you got a tattoo of me? And like, thinking of me? And it's like, no, I just like apples. Which wouldn't be a complete deal breaker for Apple Cider, but it'd be funny. Say, well, she's got an apple, it's fine. Just to make this look more interesting, do this. It'd be like a golden apple that way. It would help be less confusing if Apple Cider were to see it. There we go. So, is all this necessary? No, but yes. One of these days I'm going to stream doing like a drawing tutorial on how I draw, and I'm immediately going to say, alright, first thing you need to know, this is not going to help you. What I do is completely winging it. There is no rhyme or reason to what I do. It just looks cool. Or at least I think it looks cool. And then we move on from there. If I were to do that, what character would I pick? I'd probably pick Jam because he's like the simplest one to do for a stream. And then I'd get to the part about her ass and thighs. It's like, all right, since we're drawing Jam, she has a fucking dump truck of an ass. It's like, do not forget the size of her ass. Can you make her thinner? Yes. Would you want to? Probably not. Probably don't need that. I was just doing it just to see what it would look like. We can leave that alone. Let's put something on her, on the edge of her tailbone, or the end of her, or top of her tailbone. I don't know what though. Ooh, I know what to put. The line's a bit confusing. Let's move it away from the edge, or from the spine, so that way it's easier to separate the two. Thicken these lines a bit. A little bit in the way of her, of the muscle by her thighs, but that's okay. Let's darken some of these areas. Now the real question is, what part of her would be the base color? Because I know a lot of these details are going to be annoying as fuck. Probably the clothing color would be her base, because luckily her skin and all that is easy to shade. The only hard part would be the fishnets. So that'll probably be the route that I'll go. I think we're good. Can probably move on to at least getting her flat colors done before I stop streaming. Might be easier to do the blue as her base, because that way I'll be able to see the other colors easier. And if there's anything extra I want to add to her, I can always do that in post. Grab her colors. Might need one from the Slice of Life, because that has a different version of the gray. I think I'll keep her base colors and just focus on her actually wearing like makeup and stuff like that. That way there's a bigger distinction. Seriously, I hope one day they return to Sonic Adventure era music. Just hits different. Or it's like a mix of like Sonic, like the Genesis era Some of the Saturn era and then the Dreamcast era just has a distinct flow of music. I think it's like less cartoony, I guess would be the best way to phrase it. It's like somewhat more serious, but still has like the 90s feel. So yeah, we'll give Jam makeup once I do the rest of her. Oh yeah, I forgot to add in whatever necklace I was gonna have her wear. Doesn't need to be anything complicated. What do I want her to have? Yeah, I'll just do something basic. The moon. Gem in the middle. There we go. Okay, I am going to need other colors for this. Where's them? I'll grab these two. And this is probably helpful. Alright, let's get the hard part out of the way first. Figure out the other colors as we go. I'll probably make these two the same. Can always change it. See how that looks. I think I want the top to be a darker color. Oh, Jesus. Thank you for subbing, Moondog. Seriously, I really need to remember that I have those notifications turned on because I'm like, what? But yeah, thank you. That reminds me, I need to try to see if I can arrange something for Twitch so I can have both going on. I'll just have to be careful on what gets streamed to Twitch since they can be picky compared to YouTube. Probably make that one a lighter gray. Oh yeah, I need to do the loops. I'll get the basic stuff first. Oops. Let's see if this is easier. Okay. Probably put this in the same layer. Realistically, you put this layer underneath so that way it doesn't have a problem being crossed over with the other parts due to being so small. Just a plum colored gem. Oh, definitely confused plum. And you can barely tell. But that's fine. Maybe I'll make it a little bit lighter. There we go. Yeah, it was definitely a better idea to use blue as a base. Okay, all that's left is some smaller details, and then that'll be the end of doing our flats. And then we'll call it for tonight. Might as well just grab our colors from here. It's going fine. I'm currently working on I Have Volume 2 because I'm going through like a flowchart thing where it's like it's one comic, then another, and then I'll get to secrets and Hetty and all that. So it'll get there when it's its turn. I Have Volume 2's pages shouldn't take me that long because it's mostly just Andy and Emerald at the store. But it shouldn't be much longer because I'm almost getting to the parts that I want to get to for the short chapter. And then once that chapter and Black Circus are done, then I won't add any more comics to the lineup. I'll just focus on the remaining ones so we can get through those faster. I do want to put time into Buckle and World Gates though, so at some point those are going to come into the lineup. And it's just going to be just work on whatever I can work on and just get it done, because I know that I'm just going to end up either getting sidetracked or adding in something that I shouldn't, so just work on the stuff that I want to work on, put it out there, even if it's one page at a time, because it's better than waiting on hiatus for however many years, and just get them done. So that's the mentality at the moment. I could have sworn there was like a certain white color that I was looking for. I think that's what I was looking for. What do you mean? Oh, I mean, it's not like it's a secret. Like, people who have read it on Patreon and all that are like on Patreon. It's already done. The main story. We're on the epilogue right now. So I mean, it wasn't like it was a big secret on how it was going to end. Like, it was pretty much clear on what was going to happen from the start. Because this is not like a major story compared to like Marcy and Skylar's comic. So no worries there. But if you figured it out, then cool. Plus, it doesn't help that I've streamed a good chunk of the not the story necessarily, but just like me rambling about it. So it's not even a kept secret. If anything, I'd probably be more impressed if you could figure out where I Have Volume 2 is going. If you could figure that out, then I'd be like, damn, you did your homework. Yeah, like, I already know that people have seen the streams of me working on the comic, and it's also being talked about on BBW Chan, so I'm already aware of all that. Like I said, it's not even a secret. But yeah, if you could figure out I Have Volume 2, then that would definitely be noteworthy. Maybe even Black Circus, but I think I Have Volume 2 is the more interesting story. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, all that's really left is makeup. So let's actually probably do something that's in between this and this. Oh, probably like here. I'm gonna put this on a different layer just in case. It would help if I could see it. There we go. I think it might be better as a darker color. Or a darker shade. Yeah, that's better. Favorite pick of her? I don't think I have a favorite at the moment. If we're talking just from the comic, outside of the cover, dun dun dun. Yeah, I don't think I have a favorite at the moment. I guess if I had to pick, it'd be something from the epilogue, but that's about it. Haven't really... Don't think I have a favorite at the moment. definitely need to look at the reference for this, so I can get it right. Yeah, that should be fine. Can we add lipstick to this? The top one's definitely not gonna work. There's an effect I want to put on her, but I'll do that when I get towards the end. Alright, so anyway, here's the flats for Jam so far. I probably need to move her tramp stamp a bit, because technically where it is, it wouldn't logically make sense, but I might just leave it alone. Can always say that it says more on her or something, or just leave it. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, so this is the have I watched yet? No, I haven't watched anything of The Boys except for like bits of season 1, because I used to read the comic for a bit and then I dropped off of that, so it's just not a series I'm really into. Like, it's okay, but just not my thing. But yeah, pretty much gonna call it for tonight with Jam. I'll save the working on the rest of it for the next stream, so that way we have something to do. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. I will see you guys again next time. All right, you guys take care. Have a good